Do we want to bring on Rekieta?
Yeah,
Do we think? Let's bring on Rekieta to give us some legal expertise, and he is the law. And let's bring in Rekieta. Nick Rekieta, how are you, sir?
Very good. How are you?
I cannot hear. I'm sorry, Mr. Rekieta. I can't hear you. 1 second. My team here is scrambling a little bit.
Go ahead.
All right, one last time.
Hi.
Okay,
beautiful.
Perfect. I'm sorry. You probably had a great one-liner and we stepped on you.
It was the volume button.
Mr. Rekieta, should I call you Mr. Law? What do you prefer?
Oh, you can call me the law, the nose, the law pope, whatever you want, man.
Oh, no, we just made jokes about anti-Semitism.
Nicky the nose. Nicky the nose.
Nicky the Soros. We can scrap that,
didn't
right?
do
It's
that.
live, but we can just cut it later.
Yeah, we'll get that in post.
So-
There's no post.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people are wondering if this is political. In one of your videos, you said the average American commits like 3 felonies a day, right? Do I have that right? Yeah, 3 felonies a day. The government can kind of just, the old phrase, you can audit a ham sandwich.
Yeah.
Explain
yeah, well,
that.
the idea is that the legal system in America has become so bloated that basically anyone could be prosecuted at pretty much any time, and that's a system of soft tyranny, right? It's the idea that you can control the populace by making a system that they cannot avoid committing criminal acts through their normal daily lives.
Right. So we kind of know that, right? But this is why I always overpay in taxes, and the IRS still owes me 7 figures. They'll get right on that. They owe the business a bunch of money.
You make that kind of cash?
Well, you just overpay every quarter, and they're like, you don't need to set aside 80%. I'm like, I don't know when Caesar's going to come for it. So I still fully expect them to audit at some point, even though they owe me money. But what does this mean for Americans at large, kind of this political theater? What kind of a precedent does it set? People say that, but how could this, quantifiably affect Americans? If they can do it to him, it seems like they can do it to anybody. What can be done to anybody?
Well, look, the first problem we have, yes, involves the every man, the every person. But the other aspect of this, the real danger, in my opinion, on the political side, is that if an average regular American commits potentially 3 felonies a day without knowing, we can go ahead and assume that the average politician commits significantly more felonies with knowing.
I think that's a safe assumption.
Part of the sort of weird agreement that we have around politicians is at the highest levels, we really don't prosecute them that often because it starts to look political. It starts to look like this overt attack on your political opponents, and that we kind of reserve for the third world to leave them in abject turmoil for all of history and all of the future.
All cultures are equal.
Right. The West has largely eliminated this idea that you automatically go after your political opponents because it leads to cycles of violence eventually. This is just kick the... Whoa, sorry. Can I swear on here? I swear all the time.
Yeah, you can.
Sorry.
I mean, we have Nick DiPaolo here, so.
And you're Nicky the nose? You got to swear.
Well, now it feels like I missed it, and I'll have to build back up to it. This likely just kicked the door open, and now we have the potential to go back and forth prosecuting our political opponents, and I think there's a real risk there that is extremely dangerous to this thing that they've all fucking pretended to want the whole time, which is the peaceful transition of power, which was obviously just a catchphrase to try and get people to stay home rather than voicing their First Amendment rights.
They always ask for civility when the other side is winning to some degree. That's really what it means, right? Where was the civility when George Bush was president? Where was their civility when Donald Trump was president? Now that they have a guy in office, hold on, civility. Let me ask you this. If Bragg's office... now you have me paranoid because I'm saying Bragg's plural. I know it's Bragg, but Bragg apostrophe S, guys. Who cares? He's an asshole. If they leaked... If they leaked the charges, while we're talking about this, the political football, right? Would Trump have recourse? First off, is it a felony? And what would the recourse be if a DA leaked charges like that?
My understanding is that it would be a felony to leak a sealed document, to leak a sealed government record prior to the unsealing of it. Would Trump have recourse? Well, this gets into the fun question of how often prosecutors just fist the populace over and over in any sort of court action. And what they do is they'll break the rules, but the only person who can prosecute someone who breaks the rules in the government favor is typically the prosecutor, unless like a special prosecutor is appointed. Right. But when you have a political system of New York that is run entirely by the political opposition, we can expect basically no chance of that happening. happening.
No, I think you're right. It's the American populace that escaped. Go.
I just wanted to break in. Officially, he has pled not guilty.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let's bring up CNN really quickly.
Surprising.
Yeah. Did you think he was going to plead guilty?
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
I did it.
Hold on 1 second, Rekieta. I just want to bring
he
this.
said the judge assigned to my witch hunt case, a case that's never been charged, before capital letters, hates me.
Oh, they're still reading the Truth Social. So how does CNN not have this?
I don't.
They're still focusing on his walk.
CBS News had. I mean, look, it's no surprise, Nick. Right? I'm sorry, Rekieta.
Yeah, that's all right.
Because the other non-lawyer,
Mr. Knows.
Yes, Mr. Knows the law. It's no surprise that he pled not guilty, right? I mean, everybody was expecting this.
Right, and it's very common for in any criminal prosecution, unless you're trying to get rid of it immediately, to just go ahead and plead not guilty, even if you would plan to plead guilty later, because you want the process to go ahead. You want to make sure that they've procedurally dealt with everything in the appropriate manner. Now, that being said, I think Trump's not guilty plea is extremely expected here because he has several defenses to the assumed alleged crimes. We haven't seen the indictment yet. We only have kind of the best guess at the moment, but those best guesses have several avenues for him to defend himself, even if what they say that happened is what happened. The idea that Trump is guilty of doing something under the statute is, very much up in question.
I wish I had you the first time I had to go to court. The first time I went to court was because it was a speeding trap.
Yeah.
And then what happened was they sent a ticket to I wasn't in my car. It was a friend's car when I was visiting in Michigan. They sent a ticket to an address that I had never been for a vehicle that wasn't mine. And so I just never received a notice. And they said, you're driving on a suspended license. And I said, well, I don't remember getting this ticket. And you didn't even send me a notification. So anyways, it got completely thrown out because of how they handled it. But at that point, I went before the judge. And of course, it's a lot of fun, right? When you go to court during the day, just a bunch of purple suits. And then I go up to everyone's like, not guilty. And I'm listening. I'm going, well, they clearly did it, right? They show them on a camera. So I go up and I go, Your Honor, guilty.
There, they finally had it.
Oh, there you go. I said, Your Honor, guilty, but I would like to explain. And the judge said, well, hold on a second. What are you saying? And I said, well, I did do it, but let me explain context. She said, I'll write down not guilty.
What a country. What a country.
I was like, I did it. I got the speeding ticket. She's like, I'll write down not guilty. So I didn't know. I thought they went light if you were transparent. Turns out that's not how it works.
Yeah, little different situation.
Yeah, a little bit different here. The stakes are a little bit higher. All right, Rekieta, we'll probably check back in with you later. Is there anything else that you think people... Oh, yeah, go ahead, Gerald.
I wanted to say, Rekieta, I know that the charges have been unsealed. I'm not sure if they've been relayed yet, but those should be forthcoming. So we might be able to go back to you pretty quickly once we know what the charges are so that we can discuss that. Expectations are that we know how this is going to go, but you never know. DA could be doing something kind of shady here, but because if it's just what we think, it's pretty thin.
Mission control. Let's see if you guys can get us those charges, and then we'll have Rekieta provide some insight. Hey, Nick, thanks for being here, brother. We appreciate it.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Costello. I knew it was going to be a problem with two Nicks. I think by the not deductible.
If you want to bring back Nick Rekieta to talk through these
let's
things.
bring back Nick Rekieta. And guys, let me know. I'm looking through all these. I'm at the 28th count. The only person I've seen specified is Cohen. So I'm thinking maybe there's going to be some grand reveal right on the last count. It's either Cohen or the general detail ledger or the Trump organization. Again, guys, if you are out there, if you are in charge of any books of a company or if you own a company, this sets a precedent for you if the books are not kept perfectly. Now, we don't know. Falsify would mean knowingly doing so with criminal intent to conceal, but we're not seeing it. We haven't seen any evidence to that effect right now. And of course, you could go through anyone's ledger. You could go through anyone's business and find numbers that aren't perfect. That's the nature of it. How many people have we known that have been audited? Of course, especially under former President Obama, right, with the IRS. They knowingly targeted political dissidents, and it's, you know what, your books don't balance by $200 on a tax return.
What do you think those 87,000 new IRS people for?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Right? A bunch of pencil-necked pussies with semi-automatic handguns.
Handguns.
Won't matter.
I have no problem with semi-automatic handguns. I have a problem giving them to people who don't want them.
Right, exactly.
Namely the IRS.
Yeah.
So let me know if I'm missing anything here. Maybe Rekieta can come in and correct me. Is he?
He's ready.
Okay, let's go to Rekieta because, again, we're doing this live on air, and I have no idea if it looks like it's just Cohen and the general Trump organization. Let's hit the stinger. Mr. Law, thanks for being back. Hopefully we hear you this time. Can you hear us?
I can. You got me?
Yes, I do. All right. Look, we need your legal expertise here. My interpretation here, I'm only seeing one person specified, Michael Cohen, which we already know, right? That's something that's already effectively been settled. Everything else in these counts is about the general Trump organization, which doesn't mean that it is Donald Trump himself at all. They're trying to lay that at his feet. Do I have that about right? Give us the ins and outs here.
Yeah, effectively what they've done is they've charged 34 counts. The conspiracy count that that was mentioned is not mentioned in this indictment at all. There is no criminal conspiracy charge in this. It's all 34 counts are falsifying business records in the first degree, and all of them are related to a fraction of that, estimating roughly between 9 and 12 total payments. And what they did was they charged an individual charge for each invoice from Michael Cohen, from each check and check stub that was issued in response to the invoice, and then for each entry into the general ledger of the Trump organization. So you've got 9 to 12 total payments, which results in
Can I
about
ask
3
you a question
to 4
here,
charges each.
Nick Rekieta, for people who don't know, would those include, for example, like not only retainers, but when you're sent a biweekly bill or a monthly bill for legal services rendered, just in general?
Yeah, it looks like they were just general payments made to Michael Cohen. They're not specifically alleged to be in relation to anything. And this is one of the big problems that they have, is that Cohen had testified that he paid the $130,000 and was never reimbursed. Trump made multiple payments to Cohen for less than $130,000 over a period of time. So what they have to try and prove then is that a fraction of some of these payments was to reimburse Michael Cohen for that $130,000 that was paid. Then they subsequently have to prove that Trump did this with an intent to defraud some organization, which would presumably be the Trump organization. And then they have to further prove that he actually did it with with the requisite intents, that he had his hands in this. Since there is no conspiracy charge, you would think they would have charged conspiracy with like an accountant or a bookkeeper at the organization, but they didn't do that.
Right.
How many of you think Donald Trump's out there making general ledger entries into the accounting software? He's like, I got
it. Let me type it in. Let me type it. I'll type it in. Here's my ledger entry.
Right. Like, can you? It's insane.
Oh, my calculator ran out of the little paper. I find a check stub in the memo. It says horsey face.
Yes, exactly. Who I did not have sex with.
I believe it like I believe Trump is doing the pole dancing himself on those business write-offs.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's just not a thing that's happening.
Exactly.
This is for the lying whore. Signed, most unsincerely, Trump.
You're not the one.
I mean, and again, so to be clear, Trump Organization, because what we were told for the longest time was campaign funds, right? Campaign funds. Explain to people, does the Trump Organization necessarily mean campaign funds?
No, not necessarily. I mean, Trump runs an organization, and what I'm assuming they're going to say is that Trump categorized his payments to Cohen as a business expense, which is a pretty broad categorization. I mean, if he's receiving legal services that service the business specifically in the furtherance of its, of its goals and purposes, then he has a very good claim that it's a business expense. So he categorizes it this way. What they're suggesting is that the payments to Stormy Daniels were done by Michael Cohen as a campaign contribution to the Trump organization. So he makes a payment that benefits, the Trump presidential campaign.
Yeah.
So he makes a payment that benefits the Trump campaign, and then Trump is then paying it as a business expense through the organization rather than as that campaign contribution. That seems to be the goal they're taking here, but the level of abstractions that you need to get to prove this are going to be extremely difficult without some severe cooperation. And unfortunately, their main cooperator is an admitted perjurer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, we're still talking about the professional whore, right?
Right, professional.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is another argument for a cashless society.
Yes. And the reason, by the way, that she took this payment, she said in the interview, before she said she never had sex with Donald Trump and never received any payments of hush money. When she did say it, she said that she did it so her daughter wouldn't find out all these terrible, terrible things. And I'm like, cool, what about your porn?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Your daughter's probably going to find out about those indiscretions.
Yeah.
But Nick, so these these charges actually, so the underlying issue here is from 2006. These allegations have been public long before Donald Trump ever ran for president of the United States. How do they make the claim that this only benefited his presidential candidacy? And by the way, having slept with her in 2016, I don't think it would have changed a whole lot.
No.
I'm not sure that people would have been like, Donald, he was supposed to lose anyway, right? So I don't understand how they're going to make this connection here.
It shoots back to Michael Cohen's statement that he made the payments on behalf, or not really on behalf, but kind of in service of Donald Trump, not at his request. He consistently claimed that he did it without any prompting, that he made all of the arrangements. And so when he made those is in that 2016 timeframe. And then with each of these different counts, they progress from February 14th of 2017 all the way through December 5th, I think. Yeah, December 5th of 2017. And that's going to be when those payments were actually issued. So when the transactions occurred are the important dates for like the statute of limitations questions and all of that. But this all stems back from during the 2016 campaign, right before the election, Michael Cohen allegedly made this $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels to shut her up.
Unbelievable. By the way, we just have some breaking information, Nick. I don't know if you saw this, but if this does go to trial, the judge says that it will go to trial January of 2024. That seems to coincide with the primary season. I don't know. The courts may be backed up quite a ways, but
Are these people looking to cause an actual insurrection at that point?
They are. Yeah, they are. They want the right to act violently.
Of course, and I'm not encouraging it.
No,
but
what I'm set to begin. Yes, just in case.
But that's what they've been trying to do for the last. Since Trump came down, they want a violent reaction from the right.
Pinochet couldn't do a better job of it than this.
Yeah, this is.
And frankly, I would expect that date to actually be a little bit preemptive, and I would expect delays and pushback on that date. And you can expect that to be baked into any sort of complex criminal action or even civil action, that there's going to be delays requested by one party or the other, and the court is going to be primed to grant those delays. My theory on this the entire time has been that the main goal of this is not the conviction of Donald Trump, but it's to dissuade Republican donors and voters from going into Trump's side, going into that presidential election cycle.
Yeah, I mean, it's about eliminating a political opponent.
Yep.
Some people try and say that on the left they want Donald Trump to be the nominee. They're playing 4D chess, right? They say they want him to be the nominee, so they think this will actually galvanize Republicans to make him the nominee because he's the most likely candidate to lose to Joe Biden. I don't think that's the case, because there are too many ways that could go wrong, and there's only one way that it could go right, and even then it's a gamble, right? He could. The only thing that could actually work for them is if he becomes the nominee and it guarantees that they win. First off, he may not. What if DeSantis becomes the nominee? He's still going to use this. You think Ron DeSantis isn't going to? This is going to galvanize everyone who's not a Joe Biden voter, period, by the way. And the more this plays out, I think they're going to see some backlash, right? The Donald Trump vote was the screw it vote back in the day. At least he was outside of the Beltway. They felt like they had business as usual, going from George W. Bush to Barack Obama, not enough of a contrast, still spending out of control, continued wars. So they said, all right, let's try someone who's a little bit of an outsider, Donald Trump. Now we've been back to business as usual. At that point, it'll have been 4 years, and people might say, hey, you know what? Joe Biden's the guy saying trust your institutions. He's expanding the FBI. He's added 80-something thousand employees to the IRS. He's expanded the CIA. Look at the Democrats in this bill with TikTok where they want to get access to my Ring camera. You know what? Maybe Donald Trump's right. We shouldn't trust our institutions. Or maybe DeSantis is right in saying that our systems and institutions need an overhaul. I don't think there's any way for this to go well for them if, in fact, it's something that they're doing beyond the short-sightedness of eliminate Donald Trump from the voting pool. I don't know. Is it just me?
No. I think it's right. And Nick, what do you think about what are the chances that this goes to trial? And let me give you one kind of caveat. Donald Trump is obviously not going to plead guilty in any way, shape, or form. In any scheme that you've hatched on the Democrat side, him pleading guilty, this is not part of it. So given that, what do you think the chances are this actually goes to trial?
Absent his plea of guilty, the chance that they have is to try and attack the sufficiency of the charging document, that it lacks sufficient probable cause. We'll have to see what probable cause statement there is. We'll have to see how they go ahead and lay out these charges against Trump. I mean, these are very bare allegations. But if they can get a dismissal, that would be one thing. But it seems very likely that it will go to trial absent any plea deal, because we do have a grand jury indictment. Presumably, they have gotten sufficient probable cause to the grand jury to bring this thing out there. The question is whether there can be some sort of challenge to what has happened at the grand jury. And courts are remiss to overturn grand jury indictments. The idea is that the prosecutor did an ethical job. laugh track, please play in the background. But that the prosecutor did an ethical job, presented sufficient evidence to the jury, and they're allowed to curate that evidence. They're allowed to exclude whatever they want, include stuff that even would be inadmissible at trial, to bring that probable cause standard into play. Once they get there, they get the indictment. It's pretty much a done deal, and it should be going to trial.
Yeah, that was like some people were asking how likely they thought it would be that this gets dismissed. So, all right, well, that sounds like Rekieta knows how this plays out.
Yes.
He's an expert. He's a lawyer. We're not. Hey, where's the best place for people to find you and follow you, Nick? Rekieta, Nick.
You can find me on Rekieta Law pretty much anywhere. Twitter, YouTube, Rumble is where I do my primary streaming.
Yeah.
I also have a locals page. Love Rumble and locals very, very much. And you can find me on other platforms too, but mainly follow me on Rumble, guys. Let's support upcoming technology. Let's support competitors that support free speech as well.
No, I agree. And you wouldn't be able to say half the stuff that you've said today on YouTube, or maybe you would. I have no idea. Probably would be a hard strike. Hey, we need a fleet of lawyers. Let's keep his number. We'll talk to him afterwards.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Rekieta. We appreciate it. We must go. I guess, do we hit the stinger again? Yeah. He's a nice he's a sharp guy.
Where'd you find this guy?
He has a big YouTube channel,
Yeah.
and he was it was the it was the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, right?
Yeah.
That's where he kind of came to fame.
He's got personality and charisma. He's kind of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I want this guy.
And the schnoz.
So pour out another bag of bow, more of love Freud. Spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Painting tonight. From the white shores of Nan to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we are.